Hello, welcome to Terrors of the Milky Way. My name is Dale DuFay. And here we're on Google Earth, which is, of course, an awesome tool. It's not them changing anything, because if you look on any globe, any atlas, you're going to see the same representation of this Earth and this reality. And I couldn't help but notice some, I always call them like eureka moments, which helps me to realize that or at least I'm in a completely different reality that I've always existed in. And of course, it comes complete with the variations and differences we see on this planet and this reality, this planet Earth. And we can clearly see, very detailed representation of this Earth on Google Earth. And one thing I couldn't help but notice is this area in Alaska, the very southern area here. Alaska's always so different in every reality. I remember the reality where this portion of my soul originated from, the reality where my memory originated from. Alaska's west coast was consistent. It didn't have any of these sounds in it and bays. This here is called Norton Sound, and then this area here is Norton Bay. This has an Eskimo name. I don't even want to try to pronounce it. I can't even get it to appear on this app for some reason. Sometimes you can get it to coax the name up, but it just won't come up for some reason. But it is like an Eskimo name, and it's like these sounds do not even exist in a lot of realities. And so Alaska's always so different. That's when I first realized I was affected with the Mandela Effect. I noticed Alaska started looking like a puzzle piece, and it's just more, dramatic with each shift into another reality. I've always existed in it. But the area was right here. Even in previous realities where I've always existed, where we exist in almost every single reality. Of course, we may not in all of them, because that's what's so great about the namesake, Nelson Mandela. We know he didn't exist in every reality, so perhaps we don't either, but we do exist in a probably, I'm pretty certain it's close to infinity. But this area here has really caught my attention with all these little islands. And of course, that's the amazing thing about these Orion dwarfers, is there's so many islands. 10, depending on the count and where you get it from, it's at least 18,000 islands, if not more, if you count every little island like this one. But this area is so different. I was trying to see if there was a name on these peninsulas, but there isn't. There might be, but I couldn't get it to come up on the Google Earth here. But these areas, totally different, even from other Orion dwarfers. But that's I mention it all the time, and it's so true. That's where we're going to see the variations and differences, is on the coastal areas of any continent or state or country. And that's generally where you see it. That's the amazing thing too about these Orion dwarfers, is the coastlines are so scalloped. It's remarkable, because the coastlines on the Sagittarius super Earths are very consistent, like you see here. Of course, the Aleutians are very similar with its chain of islands. And it kind of caught my attention to this area. Somebody did an article. I think it was on TikTok, but they were saying that even though these two islands here are only a few miles apart, it takes like 12 hours or so just to get from one island to another, because of this island's Russia and this island's the United States. So just to get through customs and everything, it's one of those weird things. But that's unique to this reality. So it got me to look, and this stuck out right away. And that's usually what catches my attention. helps me to realize that this is a different reality is when there's these areas that really stick out, you know, right away. That means, you know, even though you don't have a, I don't know, me in particular, I don't have a photographic memory, but the Mandela effect is helping me to develop one. So when things instantly come out at you, then you know that there's probably something that wasn't there in your last time you looked there, simply because you were in a different reality that you always existed in. And I know it sounds confusing, but that's the thing about the Mandela effect. It's very perplexing, and there's no way to prove anything. But when you see differences, they're not, you know, in variations to this extreme. There's no way that could have changed. Another unusual thing about these realities is that the Alaska state border lines go all the way down into British Columbia here. Parts of Yukon and British Columbia. In fact, right there is the state line from Alaska into British Columbia. So it extends very far south into the west coast of Canada. Very unusual. And then there was another area, you know, all the way across into Europe that I couldn't help but notice. I like to watch World War II shows about the battles, and they were showing Sicily, and then when they always show the maps and everything, and they showed Sicily, and I just couldn't believe how skinny it is, you know, from north and south. You know, even in previous realities, even the recent ones, it was more like a kind of like a triangle, you know, more even. But here it's just real oblong looking, and I've never seen it like that. So it really, really stuck out. In fact, it was when I saw the map on the show, it was like, I was like, wow, maybe they distorted the map a little bit. And then I looked on Google Earth, and sure enough, there it is. It's very stretched out east and west, more than I've ever seen it. And it's again one of those island countries where, you know, where we're going to see variations and differences. So we know that there's no way it could change. It's no way that the powers to be could change everything. They can't go to all the billions of maps and globes and atlases and things that have been printed over the last several hundred years and change them. It's impossible. So the only other explanation is, you know, unlikely as it is that we're in a completely different reality that has always existed with us in it. And we know that simply because we're here, and we've always been here. And this earth has always looked like this to this replica version of yourself with its original soul portion. That soul portion that was in this replica version of yourself is simply in another replica version of yourself, experiencing the reality shifts just like you are. And it's just fascinating to see them and notice them. It's like, you know, sometimes it's like, are we really shifting? Is this really going on? And then you see stuff like this, and it's like confirmation. I like totally do not remember Sicily like that. And I totally do not remember Alaska, you know, with this, you know, these two peninsulas down here, which are unnamed that I know of. I mean, I couldn't get it to coax the name up. And then this kind of like a bay Gulf area. These two sounds, like I said, don't even exist in a lot of realities. And they're always so different from reality to reality. You know, we've gotten to the point where we've expected it, you know, come to expect that. And Hudson Bay is just different. It's these, you can see in the lower right corner, the compass. I always try to keep it true north, but it just seems so, you know, orientation is a lot different than even some of the previous recent realities that we've been privileged to be able to visit. And by visit, I mean, you know, the soul portion that you were born with, the one you'll always have, is being allowed to coalesce into another replica version of yourself, which it doesn't, it's, you know, we're only going to be able to go into replica versions of yourself, no one else. And if you don't exist in a reality, you would never be able to visit those realities we don't exist, because your soul portions can only coalesce into replica versions of yourself, because the soul portions are connected on a subconscious level constantly, making you one. See, I'll keep this orientated. It's almost like the orientation of North America is off a little bit too, from what I recall. And just from what we're experiencing, we can assume that the northern hemisphere twists eastward as the Earth ages and expands as it ventures out the galactic arm. And we say this with confidence because, the Americas line up in a lot of realities where the Earths are much larger. And we can assume that they're due to, as it grows, this, like this one will. And, it could take millions of years for the Americas to line up, as we recall, as the Earth expands. And we can see the separation here. It was recurring right in the mid-Atlantic ridge. But there's so many other areas too. Sometimes I'm not 100% sure, so I don't mention it too much. But the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea are always unique in each reality. And Indochina and the Philippines and Indonesia, Australia is always. The bite varies from reality to reality, and this area here varies in the corner here by Perth, and Tasmania seems pretty narrow in this reality, east to west. And of course New Zealand is always the big one, and these gulfs do not exist in a lot of realities. Joseph Bonaparte Gulf, the Gulf of Capteria, do not exist in a lot of realities, and realities they do exist, they vary considerably. In some realities, the Gulf of Capteria only comes down to here. And this peninsula doesn't jet up so far north in a lot of realities. Again, the variations and differences we've come to expect. But it helps us to realize that, wow, this is another Earth in the Milky Way galaxy. It's just really amazing. So I'm going to basically dedicate this channel. I have 3 channels now. I kind of took a 4-month break and came back with a vengeance. I got 3 channels. One's strictly about the great teacher, the Mandela Effect. It's called The Mandela Effect Equals Knowledge. And then, of course, this channel, Terrors of the Milky Way, where we concentrate on the differences and variations we see from reality to reality on Earth and the solar system in general and the Milky Way. And then I have the 3rd channel is basically a personal channel where I'll discuss a lot of other things besides the Mandela Effect as best I can. Like things that are going on, conspiracy theories, things like that. And also, personal things, what I do for a living and hobbies and certain event, things like that. And so I have 3 channels now, and this one and the Mandela Effect Equals Knowledge channel, I didn't have the comments set up because I was just still trying to, break myself in slowly. But the comments are ready to go on all those, and feel free to comment on this one and the other ones. And I know, most of you are subscribers from this Terrors of the Milky Way channel that I deleted. YouTube had nothing to do with it. And I don't regret it one bit, because it seemed like I was repeating myself, which I was, and it just seemed hard, hard. I didn't like doing that. And here I can kind of get a fresh start and repeat myself and make it sound like it's fresh, And then I was very uncomfortable with counting the Earths. Who am I to count the Earths and try to designate each one for reference? It just didn't seem right. I was uncomfortable with that because, I don't think the count of realities and Earths is important. So we can go over the variations and differences and and agree we're in another reality we always existed in, but I don't want to go, counting them and everything like that. So it's going to be the same other than things like that. So we just concentrate on the Earths of the Milky Way galaxy on this channel, and then the Great Teacher on the Mandela Effect Equals Knowledge channel, and then personal channel. So I'm coming back with a vengeance, and it's because it's so exciting to talk about these things. And then the personal channel, which is just called Dale DuFay, that channel's enjoyable because those things, the things on that channel, there are videos on that channel and topics are easier to prove. So it's a little more enjoyable. That's why I started that channel, because it's enjoyable to do, videos you can prove, or have some kind of empirical evidence, whereas the Mandela effect, you have no evidence whatsoever. There's residual evidence, which of course is a completely different subject, which I'll bring up again, and that one will probably be on the Mandela Effect Equals Knowledge channel. So with that, I thank you for watching, and we'll Google trot at you later. Love you.